Is this Pam?
It is.
Hey, it's Steve, Samson V Twin.
Hey, Steve. How you doing?
You doing okay this morning?
Oh, I am. I got my socks on, so I'm not going to freeze to death.
I hear you. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to do this phone call and video. I got a lot of people calling me from all over the world. Be honest with you, all over the United States, asking questions that since I'm not, I'm not in your building and working every day. I don't have all the answers that people want, and I just want to be able to get everybody the best information that's available out there on the Cycle-Rama
Right.
cams and stuff.
Come on down. Welcome to come down and work with us any day.
I know you and Wes have been doing this for a long time. Can you tell me a little bit how you guys got started back in the day? I know y'all used to do a lot of dyno shoots and stuff like that over in Daytona with Buells and everything else.
Well, Wes has been, because he's older than me, he's been doing it. Ironically, he's considerably older than me, but he's been doing it maybe about 5 years longer than me. Well, he started work for another company back in the day. He actually has a degree in psychology, and his mom wanted him to do something else. Motorcycles were all he could think of. So, with a degree in psychology, of course, he would open up a motorcycle shop. So that supported his drag racing habit. And he actually became one of my customers. I worked for a very large distributor in Atlanta. Well, one of their branches was in Atlanta. Ed Tucker Distributor. And
I remember.
He was one of my customers.
I remember Ed Tucker.
Yeah. And so I, eventually another company paid me to come down here. I wanted to be down here. I worked for Wes. I would come down and do shows at his shop, a couple times a year. So eventually I moved down here and started to work for him. And, that was 1984, I think. And we decided he was doing cams and exhaust. And he was doing all of the things because in his mind, if whatever it is, it can go faster.
Yeah.
So it didn't matter what it was. And so he was doing that all along. We were doing that all along, cams, and so we were doing it for each individual build. We actually did grinds here back in the day. We do regrinds to make a cam that we wanted for a build that he's doing, and they were all one-off builds. And we had a family and trying to continue living a decent lifestyle and so on and so forth. We got busier and busier, and so he eventually started making cams for designing cams for some bigger companies, and just kind of off the cuff stuff. He was involved with some crane cams, comp cams, back in the olden days.
Back in the 1900s?
Yeah. Back in the good old days. And so he just started doing grinds. We had a conversation as we get older, and we decided we wanted to move towards manufacturing and selling or mass selling stuff, because his cams were, they worked so well, and doing things, everything being one-off, you just can't, number one, you can't sell it for a decent price, and number two, you can't sustain yourself that way. He made a name for himself that way, but so he started doing these grinds for, the dyno shootouts it first started with actually actually one customer, an older gentleman, drag raced the bagger. Nobody was doing baggers, and of course,
right.
Wes was like, "You don't expect the bagger to be wheeling down the drag strip."
Exactly.
Wes was like, "Yeah, let me get involved in this." And so that was he started with, the bagger guys, because there were the people racing Sportsters and Dynas and so on and so forth. So Wes got the baggers. He got the baggers involved. And then the dyno shootout started. We already had our Dynojet dynamometer back when Mark Dobeck was involved in the scene, and I think we had the first one this side of Montana. And so then we could really see, it was very rudimentary back then, but you could see it was surprising the differences that you would make with a product, where before all you could do was we had to travel down to the track twice a week to test everything, and now we can do it in our back room, in our engine bay.
Yep.
And so that was the beginning of that. And then it kind of, I don't know, it set him on fire.
Yeah.
And me too. I was the dyno queen, because it was just so interesting to me. It's like, oh, we thought it did this, and it does this.
Yep. You showed me you still have your yellow Buell, don't you?
I do.
You still
oh
have it?
Yeah, that was a trip. Yeah. I do still have it, actually.
Didn't you guys buy that thing? You bought it new, didn't you? Back in like 2001 or something? 2000?
1998.
98. Wow.
On the cover of some magazine, there was a yellow X1, and I told Wes I'm going to get one of those. It suited my style more so than I had a Fat Boy at the time, and I think I had a Sportster also. And the X1, I don't know, it just fit a space in my heart.
So I get a lot of people asking me about the different cams. So for just this discussion, so that we don't, there's too many different engine combinations out there to try to satisfy everybody's question. So let's just say, for example, let's just use a normal engine size and a guy that, just wants a cam installed. Let's just kind of use that as a guideline. Because as well as anybody, this is a deep rabbit hole it could go into.
Yeah.
And so for just general speaking, let's just use as well, M8's have been out long enough now, about 10 years. Let's just stick with M8, and then maybe we'll answer some twin cam questions. But so for example, let's just use a 114. All right, a stock 114.
Okay.
The 480 MT. What is it designed for, and what can a person expect out of that on a 114? Just a stage 2, no head work, nothing like that.
If the 480 MT is excellent in the 114. When someone calls me about a cam recommendation, the engine size matters, but the bike, what carries the engine, matters as well. So if it's a lowrider or a light bike, 480 MT is going to be shocking, because it comes in so early. It comes in right from the get, as soon as you let the clutch out, and it's very aggressive on the torque side. So if you want to be shocked and awed, a 480 MT is an excellent choice. What I recommend the 480 MT most for, you could have a 114 or a 131. If you have, say, a trike, the 480 MT is, I don't care what size the engine is, that's the one that I recommend, because it's all about momentum. Once you get the weight moving, it's easier to keep it moving. And the 480 MT has a huge power band. Even though it's a low mid cam, it'll pull out to 4,200. So if you short shift, you're going to stay in the power band the whole time. So like I said, getting the weight moving is the most important thing. So if you called me and you had a 114, but it's in a weigh 280 pounds, 300 pounds. I mean, I have some people that weigh 400 pounds. Or you're riding, you weigh maybe 250, and your wife or girlfriend or significant other weighs 150. The 480 MT is going to make that bike feel extremely crisp and responsive. Even though it's a low lift cam, it's a very aggressive cam. So the 480 MT would be if you want to, if you ride in curvy road situations, if you ride two up a lot, if you're riding a heavy bike or a trike, which of course is a heavy bike, redundant, it's going to make that bike feel extremely responsive, which is what everybody wants. No matter what they say, that's what they want. So if you're drag racing, that is not the cam you want. But if you're riding like a normal yet somewhat aggressive human being, the 480 MT is definitely shock and awe. Definitely a good choice.
Good 480 MT. Across the whole range, 107, 114, 117.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Oh, yeah. I talked to a gentleman yesterday, and he was wanting to build a 131, but he backed down to a 128, but he weighed, 300 pounds, and I think his girlfriend weighed 105, he said, or 110, something like that. And it was a road glide. So I said, well, he's building the bike, so I said, compression at 11 to 1 and run a 480 MT. It's going to get that bike moving, and it has really, really good parking lot manners.
Mm-hmm.
So slow to fast, and if you figure if you got normal gearing, if you're in sixth gear doing 90 miles an hour, you're maybe turning 3,300 RPM, and you are well within the power band of that cam. So if you're doing 90 on the interstate, you just want to grab a handful, you don't even have to downshift.
Goodness gracious. On the 480 MT.
On the 480 MT.
All
and
right.
the 480 OG is similar. It just comes in, a couple of hundred RPM later. The 480 OG. So if you were a light guy on a light bike, but you like the same kind of characteristics, I'd probably talk into a 480 OG. And the tuners love that bike. That cam, I'm sorry.
The MT?
The OG.
The OG?
Yeah, I tried to take that one out of the lineup when Wes did the MT. And the tuners came at me with pitchforks and torches.
Uh-oh.
Like, you can't get rid of the OG. The OG is... that's the miles of smiles, that one is. It performs flawlessly, and it performs the same every time. It's easy to tune, and people still love it.
So on the questions I get a lot too is, what's the difference between the 483 and the 484? I know I've installed a bunch of those lately, the 483 and the 484. Matter of fact, just had one come in the shop yesterday that the gentleman did himself on a breakout of 117, and it sounded like it was ready for the drag strip, just sitting there idling. And that had a 484 in it.
The 483. Oh, the 484?
Yeah.
All of our cans have a really good chop. The 483 gives the most attention for the idle. It has different timing events between front and rear cylinder on the intake side that give it its special load, let's say. So it does sound different than all of my cams, or all of our cams. But they sound different from all the Cycle-Rama cams, especially at idle. But all of the Cycle-Rama cams sound aggressive. But the 483 has a special little load, and it is a barn burner. It comes in a little bit earlier than the 484. It comes in a little bit earlier than the 484. So if you're a single rider, let's say, for the most part, let's say 80% of the time you ride by yourself, the 483 is a great pick anywhere from, I would say, 114. I see people put them in 107s all the time, but I say anywhere from 114 to, heck, I've seen them use them in 143s. But it's got a unique cadence that people really love, and it runs well. It's just not all sound. It's bark and bite, that one. But the 484 pulls out further in the RPM range. It is a low mid cam, but it performs in the upper range as well, maybe a little higher than the 483. But it has better parking lot manners, and the 484 is less sensitive to, let's say, a poor exhaust choice. So if you've got an exhaust that you like, but it's like, I wouldn't use that, but you really love it, you like the way that it looks, a 484 is going to overcome that more so than I think any cam on the market.
Okay. Well, that's good. That's really good information. That clears it up. So the 484 is just more of a, if I was to use the term utility cam, not to make that sound accurate, but I guess that would mean it covers more of a wider range of setups than, for example, a 483 would.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, I call it the Swiss Army knife.
The 484.
Cams.
Okay.
The 484, yeah.
All right. So I also get a whole bunch of people wanting to know, they have these dealership installed 131s and dealership installed 135s, and they're wanting to go and do some work, on those engines too.
Yes.
Do those same two cams work with those, or is there another cam that you guys have developed or have already developed that will work best in those two engines?
Well, Wes did a 512 specifically for the Gen 1. Not that, I hear some people say you got to have a specific cam for a Gen 2 and a specific cam for a Gen 1. That is absolutely not true. But Wes developed a 512 specifically for the SE 131 Gen 1. That one is just a drop-in cam. You notice the difference instantly. It's a great cam, but it works also. It works well with the Gen 2 135 as well. But the Gen 2 135, or the Gen 2 131, I'm sorry. The Gen 2 135 is 11.6, so it will be at the top of the range for the 512 on that one. So I have another cam that I always recommend for that, the Gen 2 135, the SE kit. But the 131 to 512 is a great aggressive cam. The 515 it performs similarly, but it comes in a little bit earlier. It's not as aggressive as the 512. It comes in earlier than the 515 comes in earlier than the 512. So that's a popular cam with the SE 131 Gen 1 or Gen 2. The 515 is probably one of the most popular ones for the new Gen 2 motors. I think in a 117 I've seen it do 143 square. I know I've seen it do 143 square. And that's SA, somebody that I don't have any affiliation with.
Yeah.
They just sent it to me and I saw it. It turned 143 square in a 117 Gen 2 stock motor.
With which cam again? With which cam on that 117?
515.
And does that require springs and all that stuff, or is it bolt-in?
No. The Gen 2 will take up to, I'm comfortable with 573, and it still has probably 60 thousandths to coil bond on that. So if you ran anything, if you ran anything 575 and down, I would feel comfortable as long as you've got clearance between the pistons and the valves. Depending on what the TDC lift is. I feel comfortable with that. So 573 with plenty of room to hold on.
So for people that don't know, what is the difference between a Gen 1 and a Gen 2, and when did Gen 2 come to play in production? What years?
Gen 2 started, I believe, in 2024. They might have had a 2023 and a half, but I think it was 2024 they came out. And we were already looking at them. I think Wes already had heads for them, or, was looking at the heads. We get some information, or he does, I don't. He gets some information ahead of time about what's coming out. So the new head design is absolutely bonkers for the Harley world, with the square intake and the extra, the way the heads flow. The stock heads tend to, if you go, unless you've got considerably raised compression.
The Gen 2 is going to be basically the square ports and the different head design.
Yeah, the head design is different. The square port, it brings in a whole lot of air.
And that's where
more so than the Gen 1.
And that's where, just not to get too technical, but that's where most of those don't have the plastic intake manifold, don't they? All the newer ones have the Gen 2s have the aluminum manifold.
They do. They have aluminum manifolds. They have larger injectors.
Okay.
Stock even. They wouldn't be able to do a plastic manifold that shape.
Okay.
Or it wouldn't. The plastic manifolds on the Gen 1s they don't hold their shape very well. They sure wouldn't on a Gen 2. But yeah, they bring in it's a really good stock. It's a really good head design, honestly. But Wes has a SF1020 flow bench. He tests everything, as far as not just airflow, but he tests velocity and port volume and the velocity in several points of the port. And on the Gen 2 heads, he's found that it's kind of to go much above 550 or to go much above 500 on a stock head is not worth it unless you boost the compression, because they come with the 135 comes with 11.6. The 131 I think is still 10.8 maybe.
Okay.
So at 11.6 you can run a bigger cam, and that would be, where somebody says a cam's not designed for Gen 2. That would be the only difference in my eyes, would be the compression would make the difference, because anything with Gen 2 with 10.8 compression trying to run over 500 or much over 500, 515 actually works very well in it, but much over a 515 lift, you're kind of, Wes calls it flowing backwards. That's not technically accurate, but what happens is, I guess, the tumble, and I don't feel qualified speaking on this. I'm going to speak in very rudimentary terms. The way I understand it in my head is the way the air flows in there. It comes in so quickly, and the way the valves open and close, it tumbles in on itself, so it actually causes it to lose velocity and lose airflow, if that makes sense.
It does, yeah. He can see this stuff in his head, can't he?
He does, yeah. Yeah, he goes around with his little formulas, but all of that stuff is extremely interesting to him. I mean, and it's interesting to me as well, but I'm not, I don't understand it. I understand it now when he says it, but I have to ask specific questions when he said they flow backwards, because we do talk about stuff. When he says they flow backwards, I was like, ooh. Yeah. My head tilted sideways, and so he explains, it's like you were trying to push I'm gonna curse here. It's like you're trying to push a shitload of water through a pinhole. If you just drip the water on the pinhole, it's going to flow through as you're putting it in. But if you try to push it through, there'll be nearly no water coming out.
That's a good analogy.
It's tumbling in on itself, and it actually creates a blockage.
I got you.
And so that's how you explain that to me. But the stockheads flow so well, and you don't. I mean, seriously, he's got some cams out that make it possible for you to make over 200 horsepower.
Good grief.
And those are all fine and well for somebody who's drag racing, or they're doing the dyno shootout, or they just are interested in seeing how far they can push things.
Mm-hmm.
But for the regular street person, I think he's got a 557. So if you were running if you built a Gen 2 and you boosted the compression to 11.6 and the 557 is absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah.
I mean, you make it on a fairly mild build, you can make well into the 150s on a 128, and then I've seen the 135s. I've seen some Harley shops making the 180s.
Good grief.
With the 135, with the 557. So he has a cam. I see people saying, "Oh, you got to have, you can't run that cam because it's not made for a Gen 2." I don't understand that.
Yeah.
Makes no sense.
Well, that analogy on flow kind of leads me to another question. The exhaust is real important on building some of these big numbers. In your experience, what style, we don't need to talk about brands because everybody's brand loyal, but generally speaking, 212, 21, or 22, those numbers mean like 2 into 1, 2 into 1 into 2 are true duals. Where do you see the best benefits, and what do you guys choose when you're trying to get the most out of these things?
Again, for me, I like the aggressive beginning, let's just say. I like a 2 into 1 because you're going to get the most bottom end torque as a rule. Now, it depends on how the pipe is made. I've seen some 2 into 1s that really fall on their face, but a good stepped pipe, a 2 into 1 that has a decent baffle in it. And, people don't realize that when you buy, some of these exhausts that come out, you can modify them for what you want them to do. And that's what we've always done. And, you can add a little something or take something away to make it do what you want. But a 2 into 1 is going to give you the most feel in your butt cheeks. Mm-hmm. Now, there are some brands out there that make a 2 into 1 into 2 that still looks good and, or looks appropriate for, say, a dresser. Mm-hmm. So, but it performs extremely well as if you almost had a 2 into 1.
2 into 1.
Those are nice. And then a 2 into 2, if you pair it with the appropriate cam, you're not going to lose a whole lot at the bottom. You are going to lose some because they just, you've lost some of the low end velocity, let's say, with a 2 into 2. But the biggest part that I tell people, you don't buy a Harley because it's a rocket ship. You buy it because of the look and the culture and the sound.
Right.
Some of the things you can't explain about it. But if you've got to try to balance both the look, or all three, the look, the sound, and the performance. So you can work with a 2 into 2. You just have to pair it with the appropriate cam.
Yeah.
So if you're going to lose a little at the bottom, you want to have a cam that works a little harder at the bottom. with a full-on true dual, and you just pick a cam that works harder at the bottom.
Yeah.
And you're not going to, realize a loss. You're not going to feel anything less than what you expect.
And then the true duals will always give you that. I give people the analogy that you're sitting in a 63 convertible Corvette with side pipes. It sort of has that sound.
A little stereo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I like the looks of the true dual. Custom Chrome has that. I know we're not supposed to mention brands, but Custom Chrome has that 2-in-1 in the 2 that works very well. So you get both. You get the little extra scavenging from the one part of the 2-in-1 and the 2,
mm-hmm.
but you get that stereo, like you said. That is exactly right. That's the classic,
mm-hmm.
Look and feel.
Well,
so it kind of creates a bridge between the 2.
Yeah, that 2-1-2. There's a lot of guys out there that maybe, and this might be stretching it, but they may not even know what a twin cam is. Did the twin cam, I believe, come out about what was it, like 25, 26, 27 years ago? And there's a huge market out there for the twin cams. Do you guys still make cams for?
I see it. I do. I see a resurgence. I don't stock anything for the 06 and down anymore.
Okay.
Other than 06 Dyna is like the 07s and up.
Right.
But because I buy in such quantities, I can't justify buying in those quantities for something that I don't get a lot of calls for.
Mm-hmm. Well, you're kind of limited on that motor anyway, aren't you? I mean, the lift, unless you go grinding the cases out, you really can't go much.
Correct.
There's not a lot you can do on the first, let's call that one the first gen from 99 to 06. There's just not a lot you can do with those.
Yeah, well, I actually have the same, the cam is very different, but I have the same grind for the 99 to 06 as I do the 07 and up. I mean, they're different. I wish they interchanged, but they don't. I wish there was some way we could make them interchange, but they don't. But
mm-hmm.
our 570-2, let's say 07 and up, because those are the ones that I stock. The 570-2 is somewhat similar to the 480 MT in the M8 stuff, and then my 575's like the 480 OG, and then I have some bigger, as you bring the compression up, which is much less than the M8, but if you bring the compression up, you can add springs. I have a 595 and the 630i for bigger builds. And I still sell a lot of those. There's still some
a guy with
twin cam people out.
So a guy with like a 96-inch engine, he can get that same basic chop as like the 480.
Yeah. They sound a little different, but the 570-2, we had 575 was probably it still is my most popular grind for that. It's a low mid cam for a normal size person, normal size bike. But if you're a little heavier or a trike, or you're pulling, some people still pull trailers with twin cams. The 570-2 is going to come in earlier and a little more aggressively. But I have people that run because they like that, like we talked about the 480 MT, they like that shock and awe. But we've done 110 builds with the and larger with the 570 -2 because people want that instantaneous pull, that very aggressive beginning to the ride. And like I said, it's all about momentum. Once you get that weight moving, it's easier to keep it moving.
Well, that's good. I know there's a lot of twin cam guys out there that don't want the new bikes, or they just love what they got. There's nothing wrong with twin cams at all.
Not at all.
But
not at all. We still appreciate them over here.
Have you guys got any secret plans for the upcoming future? You got anything you want to?
Lester's got a couple of he's done some. There's some people out there that there's a. It's not for the general public though, but he did a secret cam. There's a couple of people that have it. I haven't seen, and I know one of them is a drag racer, so you may not see any information from that. That tends to be the way of the drag racer. It's like, I've got this and you don't, and a boo-boo. I'm not going to tell you what it is.
Yeah.
So there's some of that goes on, but he's got some extremely aggressive builds out. And I know he's got we did a short run of a cam that he hasn't. I'm trying to think what I've got coming in. He did a short run of a cam that was pretty impressive, but he hasn't told me that he's gonna. I don't know if he's making any tweaks to it or. I haven't heard. The things that we have now work so well.
Yeah.
I don't think you can't. I mean, and I'm a shit salesperson and I'm horrible at marketing. But I can say this, that it is not possible for you to build an engine that I do not have a cam that's perfect for it. I've got, my lineup is pretty substantial, and you can't build an engine that I don't have a cam that will absolutely work perfectly for your needs.
It's hard to. I mean, there's only so many ways you can do it, I guess.
Exactly. And I've got them all.
Well, do you guys have any other parts that people could use for, like, when they're doing a cam change? Do you guys offer any other components that would go with it?
Yeah, well, we've got our lifter guides we've been making since the beginning. We had to do a lifter guide on our own because we needed something for a high lift cam. A lot of the parts that we make stemmed from actually a couple of drag bikes we were doing at the time. When we came out with we're the first comp ramp made in the USA. Period. We had the first one that was made in the United States, and our comp ramp has gone through a few trials and tribulations as far as it's like, okay, we've tweaked it along the years, and now we think we have it as perfect as it can possibly be. The hubs on the M8s was not standard, so we had to go from a standard, we're cutting the splines of disc, to now we have a go, no-go gauge, because they're not all the same. They're not all exactly the same. We have our splines, they're EDM'd instead of broached. Broaching, kind of rips the metal out if the company doing the broaching doesn't sharpen their bit on a regular, it'll leave a little slag in there.
Oh.
We had issues early on, 2017, I guess it was, or 2018, whenever we started making them. And so we started having the splines EDM. It's more expensive, but it's worth it not to have to be concerned. And ours are, after they're made out of a 4140 tool steel, and afterwards we have them hardened and brought up to a 55 Rockwell. The stock piece is 66 Rockwell, but it's made out of sintered metal, pressed powdered metal, so it's very brittle. So ours are, I can't bring it up to 66 Rockwell because 4141 doesn't perform well at that, so we have it brought up to 55, and then we REM polish them, which takes out any inclusions and smooths the surface, and it adds a little more surface toughness to it.
Yeah.
I saw somebody posted a picture. I shared it, as a matter of fact. They were doing something to the clutch, and they took a picture of comp ramp. It had over 200,000 miles on
Good
it.
grief.
But our comp ramps are made thicker as well. Our comp ramps are made thicker than stock, because I feel like that's part of the issue. I know Harley made a change in 2022 or 2023 to the Belleville washers. The spring stack, they changed them because I think they figured out that that was an issue they were having. But we were already making our comp ramp thicker to take up some of the slack in the, say, worn Belleville washers or an improper spring stack. So they last a long time.
I've used them many times, and I've never had any trouble with them.
They're awesome.
Well, I know that you're busy, Pam. Every time I call down there, I can hear the phones ringing in the background.
Yeah.
You're just constantly busy. But I want you to know how much I appreciate you taking this 20, 30 minutes worth of time to go over some of this stuff, and I know that it's going to help people if they listen through the whole video that we're making here, because this kind of information is not available. There's a ton of keyboard commandos out there that know everything about everything until it comes time to knowing something. And
honey, I see it.
Facts that come from the wife of the man that makes the cams, that information that you can't obtain that anywhere,
well, I appreciate it. It's the part that I love the most. I mean, everybody that knows me know I love to talk, but it's the part that I love the most. This is seriously, some people shy away from this kind of thing. They don't want to be bothered or whatever, but it's my favorite part. I love it.
It's good. And
I appreciate you, thinking of us and, wanting the information.
Well,
I think you're doing a great job at informing people too. I watch your videos.
Do you? It's a hobby.
Yeah.
I just enjoy doing it.
Yeah. I send people to you a lot of times because you talk. You have a normal perspective on things. For the average person.
You have to be straight up.
Everybody's not a kamikaze out there. So.
No.
But I think you're doing a great job as well.
Well, thank you.
Anytime.
Say again?
I said anytime.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And again, I appreciate it, and I'll talk to you later.
All right.
So, as usual, I really appreciate you watching. If you like what I do, hit the subscribe button. If you don't, thanks for watching anyway, because I know you got this far in the video. I'm always here at the shop, usually. If you have any questions, you're more than welcome to email me or call on the phone. If you're within 100 miles, come on by one day. If you have something you want done, come on by and see the shop, talk to us. We're just regular dudes. So, I'm Steve Carr, and I'll talk to you later.